Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Crystal. This is another edition of the 9 o'clock Meltdown podcast, and I am actually in the office of Amber Burns. She's a teacher, a painter, and an all-around artist here at the Duluth Playhouse. Hello.
Hi.
Wonderful, wonderful. And now, I first met you, probably about a decade ago now. You were teaching at the Playhouse. You were teaching students, actually, some of the young adults and some of their courses. Now you actually teach dance as well.
Yes.
Now, has that been something that you've always been interested in? I believe you have a dance background.
Yeah.
But
I grew up in the Twin Cities and started dancing when I was 3 years old, and that was my thing, I loved it, and I loved tap dancing and ballet and all of it. So, and then in high school, I started teaching at the studio that I was taking classes from. And then when I went to college, I kept teaching. I came up here to Duluth for college and started teaching at a couple studios here in Duluth. And the Playhouse ended up being one of those places.
very cool. So what led you to Duluth? I guess I always hear of Duluthians going down to the cities for opportunities. So what led you up here?
I guess school was what really brought me up to Duluth. I was searching. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had a lot of passions, and I liked dancing, and I liked art, and so UMD's campus was really nice, and it had a lot of what I wanted. So I ended up coming up here for school and then staying after I graduated.
All right, excellent. That kind of sounds a lot like me, actually.
Yeah.
In high school, I'm like, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to like California or New York. You're going somewhere big. And then you wind up in Duluth, and 10 years later, I'm still here. So it sounds like you've been here a while too.
Yeah.
All right, so how was college for you? I know UMD has a really strong theater background, and they're also in the liberal arts as well. I went to UWS, which is right across the bridge. So very similar kind of schools. How was your schooling here? Did you really jump into theater right away, or was it kind of, let me do my generals, let me see what's going on, and then we'll go from there?
I started out actually undecided, and then I actually went into the art school, so I got my degree in art education to be an art teacher, but I wanted to keep dancing, and the theater department had a dance minor, so I was taking a lot of dance classes, and I actually had never done anything with theater until maybe my junior year of college.
Oh, wow.
Was the first theater experience I had, and it was really because I was taking dance classes with all the theater majors because they have to take dance, and my friends were like, you should do theater, we always need dancers, and so I was like, okay, I'll try it, and now I'm in it full on.
Very cool, Amber. Very cool.
Yeah.
So how did that kind of lead you to the Playhouse? I know from my experience with the Playhouse, they draw from a lot of the UMD theater students for, curriculum and things like that. Was that kind of what led you to the Playhouse?
A little bit. I was choreographing over at the Renegade Theater, and the Playhouse reached out to me. They needed a choreographer, and they needed a tap choreographer. And tap dancing, not a lot of dancers or choreographers in Duluth have a tap dancing background. So they reached out to me because I had that background, and so I choreographed Singing in the Rain was my first show at the Playhouse. And then from there, they were like, okay, now this show, and that's just how it led to everything.
And it just kind of snowballed from there then.
Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. And now, the first really big show I worked with you on, if we'll jump into your show resume here, was American Idiot. It came to the Underground. Was that last year or 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years now.
2 years ago now. Oh my goodness. And it was, from what I had heard, it was your first directing experience. Was that a really good experience? Do you like having that under your belt? Was it easy? Was it hard? What was that like?
Yeah. So American Idiot was my first real directing experience, and I was originally going to just choreograph American Idiot, but we didn't have a director, and I was talking to Robert Lee, the Underground artistic director, about some ideas that I had, and he was like, you should just direct it. And I was like, I'm not ready for that. What are you talking about? And he's like, yes, you are. And so I am very thankful to Robert because he believed in me so much. And then when I jumped in to the directing, it felt very similar to choreography, and I am naturally a very organized person. I'm type A, and that also helped with the directing, and I feel like that's a skill that every director should have. I don't know if they all have that, but it just felt really similar and natural, and I was like, maybe I can do this. And then American Idiot was such a great show. The cast was awesome, the crew was awesome, and everybody was so amazing, and it was such a good experience that I was like, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to do this more. So slowly I'm taking on shows that, American Idiot was all music. So it felt like choreography, even in the scenes that were not a lot of dancing. So slowly I'm trying to, work my way into shows that, maybe they're less dancey or less about the movement. And so I continue to challenge myself.
Good. And now for those people who don't know, American Idiot is a Broadway production based off of Green Day's album, American Idiot. So with that, I mean, it was very different from, 42nd Street or, Oklahoma or things like that. Was that a good challenge for you to kind of take you out of the standard Broadway shows?
Yeah. American Idiot is definitely a rock show, and, Green Day's lyrics have so many meanings, and they're so conceptual, and it's a very artistic show. And I sometimes enjoy those types of shows more, and that rock style is actually some of my favorite type of choreography. The classic Broadway shows, I guess, are also really fun to be a part of and choreograph, but they're very technique based, and sometimes you can't be as artistic with that type of show. So yeah, I really enjoy the rock shows.
Wonderful. And now to kind of get back to what you had said, you went to UMD for teaching art. And now you taught art for quite a while. If I'm not mistaken, it was up at Marshall School here in Duluth. Was that kind of difficult for you to kind of step into that role right out of school? Did you have to kind of intern? What was that experience like?
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm going to be an art teacher. I love working with kids, and right out of school there weren't any positions open in Duluth, so I actually started as an AmeriCorps member, and AmeriCorps members go into schools and work with kids on certain programming. So Marshall School actually had an AmeriCorps position for their after-school program, so I started in the after-school program with the kids, and then after a year or a year and a half, they needed an art teacher. It was sort of like almost a coincidence, and like it was meant to be that I'm here at this school. So they hired me as their middle school art teacher, and I was there for 6 years.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Jeez, I want to like high five you right now. I taught Sunday school way back in the day, way back in high school, and teaching is not my forte. So I applaud anyone that can bravely say they'll do that. So definitely, although recently you've kind of switched careers, you've made the Playhouse your full-time gig, and you've also received your master's degree as well. So kind of a lot of changes and a lot of good changes. Let's talk about your master's degree a little bit. What led you to kind of take the next step in education? Is it just that you love education? You wanted to further your own career?
I believe that I am a lifelong learner. I always want to be learning, and actually at Marshall, I took over as the Fine Arts Department chair.
Oh, wow.
And the head of school and wanted to grow the arts programming, and I believed that to do that, we really needed someone in that leadership role who knew more about the management side and the business side of the arts, because it's not just about the programming, it's about reaching the community and how we're marketing ourselves. And so I was like, I really want to get my master's degree in arts administration or something like that, so I have more knowledge about that. And Marshall is really awesome. They pay for part of your master's degree when you are a teacher there. And so I was really thankful for that. And I found a program through the University of Denver online that's a Master's of Liberal Studies in Arts Development and Program Management. It's a really long title, but basically it's Arts Administration. And then it was just only a 2-year program, and it was all online, and Marshall was really awesome, and I got to implement a bunch of what I learned within the Fine Arts program at Marshall, and we built it up. And then the Playhouse lost their children's theater artistic director, and they knew I had all of this background, and I was already choreographing and directing and teaching here, and so they reached out and offered me the position. And actually at first I turned it down because I was like, no, I'm a teacher, I'm an art teacher at Marshall, and I really loved Marshall. It was such a great community, so that I didn't want to leave. But then they, a couple months later, reached out to me again, and at that point I was thinking about it a little more, and then it ended up being that, maybe I do want to switch careers. And in the end, it actually, it isn't, I'm still learning and growing, but I am finding that this position at the Playhouse is even more of what I want to do. So it's really just been awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Amber, that's wonderful. Yeah, I remember when you had announced that you were leaving Marshall and coming here, and honestly, I couldn't think of a better fit for the job. So wonderful. And now, what is kind of on your plate for the Playhouse now? I know you're teaching classes, you're teaching the little ones, and then you also offer night classes as well for adults. Is that more kind of dance? Is it cardio workout? What are you looking after there?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Actually, Nicole Elysion, who's another dance teacher here at the Playhouse, we kind of sat down and we were looking at both the adult and the children's program, and saying, what are we missing, what do we need? And we do offer dance class and movement class for beginners to adults. But we also were like, adults just want to be fit. They want to work out, especially the adults in our shows are constantly, trying to keep their body in shape. So Nicole and I started teaching fitness classes, and they've really taken off, and they're super popular, and our actors and also community members just love to come.
Yeah.
So.
All right, excellent. If somebody's interested in signing up for those classes, just theplayhouse.org and then kind of navigate from there?
Yeah, the DuluthPlayhouse.org. If they go to the buy tickets section, because everything you have to buy tickets, even though it's a class. But yeah, we have a drop-in class that's only $8, or you can buy an unlimited pass, which gets you into dance and fitness classes. If you're like, I don't know if I can commit unlimited amount of time, we also have a 10 class pass as well.
All right, excellent. So so you've been in dance this whole time, and you're very fit yourself. I'm not gonna lie, I've seen you many times in a leotard and things like that, and I'm like, God, I wish I had Amber's body. I'm working on it though. I'll get there eventually. But let's jump in. So you've done dance throughout your whole life, kind of started teaching that, and then fell into this great position here at the Playhouse. But another side of you people may not know is you're also a painter as well.
Yeah.
And I've seen your artwork multiple times, and honestly it reminds me of almost kind of a Native American approach.
Oh, yeah.
Really strong kind of brush strokes and colors, and you're your animals and critters just kind of pop.
Yeah.
And you've got some artwork behind you, which is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I could stare at it all day and find something new. How did you fall into the painting side of things?
Yeah, well, I've always been interested in art, ever since I was in elementary school. That was another passion of mine, and I did, during the summer I would go to art camp, and, I just loved art, and so I was always painting, always sculpting, and then when I went to college for your art education degree, you have to take lots of art classes, and people would always ask me, well, what's your medium? What do you like to work with? And in college, I didn't really know. I felt like, well, I'm a choreographer, so maybe my medium is people or movement. And then my senior year, you have to do a show and put on an exhibit. And I actually did ceramic work.
Oh, wow.
And I made these giant pieces that were actually like life-size human bodies, and I hung them from the ceiling, and they looked like they were dancing. And I used the same sort of patterning that I do in my paintings on these bodies, so it looked like the patterning was moving around them. It was the first time I really had ever done anything with that patterning. And the ceramic part was very ambitious. It was very hard. I remember my professor being like, Amber, that's ambitious. Are you sure? And I'm like, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And I was like, you were right. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. But it looked really great. It turned out awesome. But after college, there was a time where I wasn't really creating anything for myself. And, in college, I think a lot of times you're creating for the class or the professor or the grade. So I felt a little like burnt out, like, oh, I don't even know who I am.
Don't we all feel that way, though?
Right? But then I was inspired. I was like, I want to paint something for myself that's just for me, and it's not for a grade, it's not for a professor, it's something that I want to do, and I love movement. But I was like, well, I love animals, so I started painting this wolf, and my favorite color is blue, so I was using these blues and greens, and, trying to think about movement, and so I painted this blue wolf, and then I used this black to create this patterning on top of it, and then it just, when I was done, I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. The piece is moving. I can see like the energy and the spirit of this animal through the color and the patterning. And so I was like, maybe this is what I've had inside of me all these years, and I finally got it out, So it wasn't like one thing in particular that really inspired me. I think it was, my experience in choreography and dance, but also my background in art, and just kind of melding them together, and then finally, realizing that, this is how I want to create things. I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how long have you been painting then?
This style of painting I've only been doing since 2013. So not that long, but I've been painting, like learning how to paint and painting other things since high school, or before that, I guess. So
Excellent. And now your paintings are actually for sale. Do you do commission work as well, or?
Yeah, because I am an artistic director and choreographer and director, I am not a full-time visual artist. I have had only a few shows, so most of my work is done by commission. But I do have a website, amberburnsart.com, so you can check it out and see my style. But yeah, a lot of what I do right now is commission, but I'm hoping to have another show soon.
Wonderful. Can you talk about some of the commission pieces that you've done?
Sure, yeah. I think, a lot of us connect with animals, right? We're always like, oh, my spirit animal, or oh, that animal has personality traits that I have as well. So I think people reach out to me and want paintings of animals that they connect to, you know? I've had a lot of people say, well, I feel like my spirit animal is an otter. Can I commission an otter? Or someone did the bird, the kiwi from like Australia, I think, or New Zealand, I can't remember. But, you know, all sorts of people are like, I connect with that animal. And so usually when I have somebody ask me to commission something, I also ask them like, well, what's your favorite color? Or, you know, what are some colors that you like? Because I think that part of the animal and part of the color and the patterning represents their spirit, you know? So, yeah. Recently I did a piece for someone who had an experience with a wolf. Like, he saw a wolf on this piece of land that he had bought, and it was like this wolf just kind of like was there, and he saw it, and it was like a gray wolf. So he asked me to commission a silver wolf, and then this piece of land he's building a house on, and so he's going to hang that wolf above the fireplace. So that wolf was on that piece of land, and it will always be on that piece of land now. So it's kind of cool.
All right, excellent. And now the paintings behind you, just to talk about those really quick, they're both hawks. One is, it looks like it's seated, and the other one's in mid-flight. And honestly, I wish I could like visually share this with people right now, because they're just so stunning. They're both done in kind of this green-blue color, but then the hues behind them are this beautiful yellow-green. Now, is that more of a watercolor base? Are you more of an oil-based kind of artist? And how on earth do you get those colors to melt like they do? Because trust me, I have tried and it doesn't work.
Right. These are acrylic paints, actually. I love acrylic. I like how fast it dries. So I have used oils before, but I get frustrated because it's slow, you know, and it's like a building process. I have used watercolors in the past, but I found acrylics to be my favorite. And the colors are different for every piece, I guess. So, you know, sometimes I think about more of a monochromatic theme. So if I'm using yellows or greens or staying sort of in that color palette, or I think about, do I want this to be a warm feeling or a cool feeling? And then other times I've used complementary colors. So I did sort of like orange fox with a bluish background, and you know, sometimes I don't know how it's gonna turn out, I guess. So I just, you know, see what happens, and most of the time it works out. There have been paintings that I have painted over quite a few times because I just can't get it right. But most of the time the colors just work out.
Excellent. I mean, they're absolutely stunning and extremely fabulous. How much do you usually charge for your artwork?
Yeah, I base it off size. So, you know, the ones behind me are around 300, and these, I want to say...
They're very large.
Yeah, I want to say they're 20 inches by 20 inches. And, you know, I still consider myself sort of an amateur artist, I guess. Jeez,
take that verbiage out of your life right now.
I'm not a full-time artist, so my prices aren't super high. I have, you know, gone up over the years as I get more into it and maybe a little more professional. But yeah, so these ones are around 300, but you know, the bigger size canvases, you know, 500, 800, 1,000. I've done really small ones, like a 12 by 12 inch canvas. I've done 50 to 100, depending on what the subject is, if it's like complicated or something. So
Okay, excellent. Now, do you usually paint on canvas? Do you do anything on just paper?
Mostly just canvas. The patterning that I've done, actually I have a lot of sketchbooks from high school and college that I can see that patterning sort of growing, or like I didn't realize it was in there, and I look back and I see something that is similar to what I'm doing now, and I'm like, oh wow. So I guess you could say I've practiced a lot with like permanent marker or just pencil with that patterning, but most of the time I just go straight to the canvas, and I'll research images. Like this wolf painting that was commissioned, I like to look at lots of photographs of wolves and find the right position of the wolf, because I find that my paintings, the style of the patterning goes really well if it looks like the subject is moving. I've done ones where they're just very still, and it looks great, but I think the ones where they're moving is a little more powerful.
Yeah.
So I'll do lots of research to get that right position, and then I do lots of research on like close-ups of like, okay, what do their eyes look like, and what does their nose look like? Because I think another powerful part of these paintings are also the eyes, and I think people connect with that. They're like, that's my spirit animal, and those eyes are just speaking to me, or whatever it is.
How long does it usually take you to create a piece?
I'm kind of a fast painter.
Okay.
And so they don't take too long. I would say maybe the ones behind me probably only like 5 hours tops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm so fast, and it's not anything that I'm like bragging like I'm a fast painter, but it just, I know what I want it to be, and I get it out, and so first I'll start with all the colors and getting that. Sometimes if the eyes are a little more complicated, then the painting will take a little longer. The eyes tend to be the hardest part for me. And then because acrylic dries so fast, I usually can start the black patterning on top of the color pretty soon after I'm finished with the colors.
Oh, okay. So then you start with the color base first, and then cut it into its pieces on the black. Oh, very cool. Now that just gives it a whole new look for me.
Yeah.
Excellent. Wonderful. Let's see here. AmberBurnsArt.com. What else is there? Let's see. You're part of the Playhouse. You have a master's. You do paintings.
Yeah.
Oh, what else is going on in your life?
I guess I'm painting and choreographing. I do shows. I'm going to be playing Piglet in Winnie the Pooh coming up at the Family Theater in May. So I'm actually pretty excited for that.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Now, if you can speak to the show, I know usually shows are kind of hush-hush until they open. Are they painting your face? Do you get a prosthetic? What are you looking for with Piglet?
Yeah, we are doing some face painting.
Okay.
So we'll look like our animals, and then I don't have like a snout or a nose or anything. We're just doing face paint, but I'll have like a hood with ears and the classic Piglet look.
All right, excellent. Well, Amber, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and welcoming me into your office and talking about all the stuff that you've got going on. So I guess if anybody can take anything away from this, it's to keep moving forward and to keep the movement going, right?
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. And if anyone's interested in Amber's artwork, that is www.amberburnsart.com.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much and have a great day.